Today I'll be presenting a study done by Rosenthal and Jacobson, which I have here titled as Expecting the Results by Setting Expectations. So what does this slightly ironic title exactly entail? Rosenthal had found in a previous study that as an experimenter, setting expectations for his subjects often resulted in those biases becoming true. He initially found this in a study comparing rats intentionally bred for superior performance and learning ability compared to regularly bred rats. He found that knowing beforehand what group a rat was designated for often resulted in those results becoming true. He wondered if this bias would hold true for human social interactions. To test this, he borrowed Flanagan's test of general ability, also known as the TOGA test. This standardized test assesses verbal skills and reasoning skills based on vocabulary, concepts, and abstract thinking. This ultimately gives us an IQ score. For Rosenthal's studies, he recruited elementary school students varying from 1st grade to 6th grade. He gave the TOGA test to all students and calculated their average IQ. To the teachers, however, he explained that the TOGA test was actually a test for, quote, potential intellectual blooming. Basically a test determining whether a student was likely to grow rapidly in this academic school year. Rosenthal disclosed to the teachers which students had high potential when in actuality this high potential student group was chosen at random. This group was considered the experiment group and consisted of 20% of the total population. The remainder of the student body was deemed the control group. Rosenthal then left the teachers and students to their own devices for the rest of the academic year. He theorized that at the end of the year, when he tested them again, the students that were deemed in the high potential group would show a greater difference in their IQ growth compared to the regular control group. He wasn't interested in the raw IQ score, but rather the difference found between the before and after tests. Rosenthal administered the TOGA test again 8 months later. He calculated the average mean scores for each grade, as well as whether a student was in the high potential group or the regular control group. He compared the differences of the two TOGA scores by subtracting their experimental mean from the control mean, thus giving a different score. He did this for all 6 grades. What he found was that there's a significant difference in the growth of the before and after scores based on whether the teachers thought a student was in the high potential or the regular potential group. Furthermore, he found out that younger students were more highly affected by this bias compared to their older peers. Specifically, 1st grade students in the high potential group showed a growth difference of 15.4 IQ points higher than the growth difference found between the regular control group. This showed us that by giving teachers an expectation of certain students, those students were more likely to reach those expectations regardless of what the skill assessed actually was. Not only did this support previous studies that experimental bias directly affects the results, this extended the idea into human social interactions directly affecting a person's potential ability. It did not matter if the subject was even aware that a bias was being placed on them. Naturally, that person would end up becoming more and more like that bias. Rosenthal suggested many possible factors as to why this bias could potentially lead to such great of a difference. Greater teacher-to-student exposure, the way a test was given, and student social awareness of a bias were some of the examples that Rosenthal theorized to be the factors for this difference. As to why younger students were more highly affected, he suggested that teachers simply place more of a stronger bias on younger students as to their older peers. Although Rosenthal could not exactly pinpoint the causality of how bias affects students' growth, he clearly showed that setting an expectation on someone directly impacts how that person will perform. This study was a clear indication that research methodology was not perfect. Not only did factors within subjects need to be limited, but also outside and research method factors need to be limited as well. New data-taking methods such as double-blind studies, anonymous surveys, and having multiple people analyze results are some of the examples of how this discovery pushed research methods more. This helped us to make research more be true to data, rather than just being explaining what we want to believe. Thank you.